Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Jaran Miller with the Arkansas Sports Network. If many of y'all that know me know I'm a very avid Razorback fan, so we decided to do a little breakdown of the first third of the season and talk about the Hogs a little bit this year and what we've seen, what we love, what we don't like, and kind of preview this game against Texas A&M this weekend. So, really excited about a lot of the stuff we've seen. Of course, we're starting off season. Coach Sam Pittman hiring Bobby Petrino, big surprise. Very few, if anybody, saw that coming before they, broke the news and people got wind of it. Huge hire. I mean, a shot in the arm for what was going on at the time. Kind of got a lot of the fan base that was kind of letting go of the rope excited again. And then getting Eric Mateos, I think, was a huge hire on the offensive line. Offensive line play last year obviously was one of our biggest problems for sure. So we'll start talking about the transfer portal, bringing in a lot of guys. That's the world of college football we're in now. So we bring in, try to revamp the line. We get Blackstock at right tackle. We get Austin Nichols at center, and left tackle we bring in Carmona. And, going to the UAPB game, I feel like that team was really excited because of all the work they'd put in, and they were ready to play someone else. Get out there, and I expected us to dominate them. And I love to break the film down and really look at different plays and different position groups and watch that. I think I watched that UAPB game about 6 times altogether. Loved what I saw out of Carmona and Blackstock and Nichols and Marion Harris and right guard Josh Braun. Braun, struggled at Florida. He did have ankle issues, was part of his problems. I feel like he got better. I feel like he was better last year than he was the year before at Florida, but he's definitely gotten better this year, even better than he was last year. So all of them have some issues, though, and we're gonna get into all that. But first off, in this UAPB game, what I was looking for is I knew that we were going to dominate them and be able to blow them off the line, but I wanted to see these guys' motors, and that was what was exciting, because you saw Carmona, you saw Blackstock, you saw those guys running 15, 20 yards downfield and getting to the next level. It was 90 degrees at kickoff in that game. Real field was like 93, 94, and that turf was hot down there. And this is a game where, yeah, they're excited to play, but they knew that they were going to destroy this team. They could do what they wanted pretty much. And to see them play that hard, well into the late second quarter and on into the third quarter, and I don't think those guys on the line played with the twos, but to see them dominate the way they did was really impressive, and so that got me super excited right off the bat. Green, of course, he struggles on the first drive. Broden was wide open, underthrows it. Of course, he's thrown into the wind in that first quarter. Comes back second quarter though, and he made some of the best throws you can make. I mean, the one to Washington, the tight end, over the top, put it in the bucket. That was beautiful. He threw another one. I think it was to Satania, if I remember right. That was just a dime. And he showed you right there, man, this guy's got the potential. So I said this the other day on Facebook, and I had a friend kind of took it the wrong way. And I think we were actually on the same page, but he just understand what I meant. So what I was saying was, Taylor Green has Heisman Trophy ability, okay? Is he anywhere close to being able to win a Heisman? Heck no. My point was, talent-wise, his ability, his arm strength, his athleticism, he's got all the qualities. I mean, there's been Heisman Trophy winners that had not a strong arm as him. There have been guys, a lot of them, that haven't been able to run like he can run and jump and juke guys. But maybe the most important thing, especially at quarterback, is being smart and knowing how to throw the ball, throw guys open, and also know where the guy's going and throw the ball before he gets there. What Green is really struggling with right now is there's a lot of things. It's not just on him, but one of the things he's definitely struggling with is he does not throw the ball. I mean, he does occasionally, but most of the time he doesn't throw a ball until he sees the guy open. And you can't do that on this level, especially in the SEC. As the defenses get better and better, there's just not enough time. There's too much speed on the SEC defenses, especially, to do that. You're going to get guys where they can come back and make a play on the ball. You're going to get more tip drills. You're going to get interceptions. You're going to get guys hurt. So that's one thing he's definitely got to do a better job at. If you know the play, and let's say you got a guy running down and running a slant, and you see he's got the leverage, you see that it's cleared out over here, and you know that's where he's going. You see that he's going to make the cut. He's got the leverage to be open. You've got to throw the ball before he gets there. So when time he makes his cut and he's there, he's got the ball. Instead, Green likes to see the guy open and then throw. And by that time, you've wasted the cut because the guy sees, oh, he's gone this way, and now he's in catch-up mode. Plus, you're holding on to it longer, and you've got another guy that he's eventually running into that's going to have time to come over and get involved when you're late. And that's something he does. Now, it's not all on him. And I'll say this real quick. I watch a lot of shows, Razorback content every week. I watch the film, the game, watch it over a lot of times. I watch it multiple times, not always. But anyways, there's a lot of shows that I watch every week, and I call them like my primers. I watch Ask Mike, Patreon Nation. Definitely love that segment. Love his genuality. He'll tell you what he believes. Really fun to watch that segment. But Tuss Talk, that's something you can watch on the Arkansas Sports Network. That's a new podcast. It's really good. It's something you should tune in for. There's been some great stuff on there already. And then a new one that I'm also watching that I just started watching since the season started, about 3 weeks now or so, is 4th and 5 podcast with DJ Williams. Clever name there because he was number 45. I like that. But he does some awesome breakdowns. And, of course, this is a guy that played SEC football and in the NFL, and he played under Petrino, which I think is even more important in this breakdown that makes it even another level of really good. And he breaks down a lot of things. And one thing he talked about the other day was the routing concepts. And if you go back to that first play and this is where I'm trying to say it's not all on Green. When Armstrong got blowed up on the first pass to him early in the game, if you go back and look, and Williams, DJ wrote this down, he's Broden's the top receiver at the top of the screen, and he believes he's supposed to run a go or a vert, and I believe that as well. Instead, he runs down about 20 yards and then cuts it off like on a post. And because he did that, it allowed the corner to look back towards the quarterback and kind of see what was going on. And he sees Armstrong has beat his man, and he's running wide open to his little quadrant of the field. So he's like, okay, I got over the top safety help, and he just goes off, and he's able to tee up. Here's the next problem. Armstrong was running down to 31 wide open. If he stays flat and runs down at 31, the time he catches that ball, he's got a couple feet. He can turn around. He's got a couple steps. He maybe can make the guy miss, but he's definitely not going to get blowed up the way he did. Instead, he doesn't run down to 31. He drifts. By the time the ball gets there, he's at the 35. And it wasn't because Green made a bad pass. He drifted, or he was already drifting before it come out of his hand. By the time he catches it, he's at the 35, and the guy's right on him and smacks him. And, and we got lucky because he could have got knocked out of the game right there. That was a big-time hit. Kind of got hit in the rib area right in here. And, he could have been out of the game, and we all know that that's been Green's number one connection. Armstrong didn't play against UAPB. He's coming back from, I think it was his hamstring. He was still they were kind of holding him out. Since then, he's been insane. I think he had, I want to say, either 18 or 19 catches coming into the Auburn game against UAB and Oklahoma State. So he's been his main weapon, and that would have been a big blow early in the game if he wasn't able to come back. So give him credit for playing through that and being tough and going out there and making some plays the rest of the day. But those are some things that they've got to clean up. Jackson, there was a play where Petrino ripped him because he cut a guy and blocked him when he was actually supposed to run a wheel route. It would have been wide open. He may still be running if he runs that route and Green throws it on time, because it was going to be clear over there for him to at least get a first down, and much more than likely if he breaks a tackle or two. So all that's got to get better. Blackstock, right tackle, he's struggling a little bit in his pass pro. His footwork looks like he's got some issues, but he just got to get more depth on his drop step. Again, this is some stuff that DJ Williams talked about. I believe these are all technique things. Green's got to throw to the spot where he knows the guy. If he knows the play, he knows where the guy's going. He's got to trust himself and let it rip. And the receiver's got to run the right concepts, because Petrino, if he tells you to run 5 yards and cut and you run 4.5 yards and cut, he's going to get on you. That's how he used to be when he was at Arkansas. You heard stories about him being that way, and that's for a reason, because everything has to be perfect. He's meticulous, but it's meticulous. It's what do you say? It's there's a what is it? Man, I can't even think of what is that old saying? A method to the madness is what I'm trying to say. And he's definitely the mad scientist top. He's really good at what he does. So when you got a guy that's supposed to run a go and he runs a post, you get trouble coming. So if you go back to his first year, when Petrino was here as a head coach, that team struggled, and it didn't all start out great. I was at that first game. Dick had to drive us down the field at the end. He hit Joe Adams. We come back and beat them 28-27. I cannot remember the team, if it was Western Carolina or I can't remember. I could see their jersey and everything. And we were wearing those terrible Adidas jerseys that they gave us at the time. They had the stripe that came down to like a kind of a point, and then it broke back on the shorts on the pants. And Mississippi State had the exact same jerseys, but theirs were maroon and white instead of Razorback red, Cardinal red and white like ours. Michigan had basically the same jerseys. It was terrible by Adidas, but I remember that. But Petrino struggled, that first year, and it wasn't, he didn't struggle, but the team struggled to get all those concepts and understand what they were doing. My point in saying all that is, if we can steadily make progress and get a little better every week, I do feel like next year, if they can win enough this year to keep the staff intact, keep Petrino here, keep Pittman here, obviously, and hopefully Travis Williams wants to stay, because he's doing a phenomenal job on the defensive side. I do think Green's going to get a little better and better, and by next year, the Heisman talk and the chance of winning 9-10 games or more really or legitimately can be there. And that's exciting to think about, but we've got to continue to see steps. Green struggled the other day against Auburn. I mean, he got benched, sort of. He did have cramps, and I did see him get a calf cramp on the drive before. So we'll never know for sure if it was just because he got cramps, but we were in trouble a little bit there. Thank goodness for TJ Metcalf having a game of his life and having pass deflection for an interception and 2 interceptions himself, and that forced fumble when they were about to go in. I think they were going to go up 14-7. We didn't strip that. Offense was really struggling, and you kind of wanted a spark. I was like, I said on myself, I was like, hey, I'd like to see Malik, because he looks so crisp against UAPB, which I've said this many times. You don't know, though, because that game, you can't take a whole lot from it, because I mean, the one thing you could take from it is first string, second string, third string never was stopped. And that was fun to see, because that has never happened that I ever can remember. They score a touchdown on every drive. 10 drives, 10 touchdowns. That was insane. So, but Malachi, when he was in, I mean, he got the ball out immediately. I mean, he knew where he was going. He got it out. And Green didn't even do that in that game at times. The first quarter, he struggled. Second quarter, he calmed down and looked fabulous. But, things aren't working, and I didn't mind seeing Malachi come in there. Now, obviously, the moment was a little too big. You bring him in, his first significant playing time in a big time. It's his only significant playing time in a big time game. On the road at Auburn, 85,000. The game is basically, I think we were tied at that point. We might have been slightly ahead, but a huge moment. First play, he throws it in the dirt, wide open guy. And then on third down, he just holds on to it a little too long. He gets sacked. I think he got back to the line maybe, but I think it went down as a sack. Might have been a no gain. But, I don't know if Green gets out of there on that play or what he does, but I think it would have went a little better. And Malachi just didn't look quite ready right then in that moment. I don't think that's the way to really ever You don't really want to just put a guy in a situation like that. You want to give him a week to know he's going to start when he's a new guy getting to start for the first time in a big-time game. But it is what it is. So Green comes back in, makes that 58-yard. And here's another thing that I don't hear enough people talking about. If you go back and watch that play from where he let it go off his fingertips, Satania jumps up at the 3 and high points the ball, about the 4, high points the ball. If you look at the trajectory, if he doesn't touch it, that ball was going to land right around the 1, or it was about a yard deep of the end zone, or right on the goal line. I had to go back and look, but I broke it down at the time, and it was 65 yards. From the fingertips of where he let it go to where it would have hit the ground, 65 yards. And I've watched a lot of football, and you will rarely, especially in college, you will rarely ever see a ball actually travel 65 yards in the air during a game because there's just not enough time. If you see 55 or more, you know that quarterback's got a very strong arm because it just rarely happens that they even have time to do it. And he Green was running for his life and kind of had to adjust his feet there to plant himself. And of course, he launched it. I mean, he definitely got a follow through on it. But that was a special play, and that's stuff that Green can do. If you go back and remember Matt Jones, early on especially, his senior year, he polished up and did some really good things offensively throwing the ball until he got the hamstring injury. But he was actually leading the nation. Well, not leading, but I think he's in the top 2 or 3 there after the first 2 or 3 games. And then we lost to Texas and kind of went in a little bit of a slump there in the middle of the season. Ended up 5-6 that year. But Jones was really polished up by the time he got to his senior year. And that was in a Houston Nutt offense that never had, other than Clint Stoerner, he threw for, 2,600, I want to say. I know it was 2,698. I think it was 2,499. Those were the best passing years in under Houston Nutt at Arkansas. Of course, we had great running teams. But my point being, Jones polished up that much as a passer. He was a lot like Green, a guy that didn't like to sit in there. He'd run around, make things happen. Green's a lot like that right now. If he will trust Petrino, he came here because of Petrino sold him and they sold each other, that he felt like Petrino could make him better. And Petrino thought he could make him better, that he believed in Green as well. If he'll trust the process and start hitting those guys and really calming down a little bit. I know he was nervous at the UAPB game, the first game at Fayetteville, at Fayetteville. I know that they tried to play that off, that he had a little bit of nerves in that game. I do think he's played better on the road at Oklahoma State than he did in any other. Well, he had his moments at Auburn, but overall he didn't play very well at Auburn. If he'll calm down and kind of trust the offense and take a step, that's what I want to see. I just want to see a step every week, because if we take a step forward, if we play like we did against Auburn, we lose against A&M, because A&M's defense, I like Auburn. I think they have a great defense. I say great. I think they have a good defense. I think they have a good running game. I think they have a good offensive line. They just have very bad quarterback play. But they played as hard as they could. Hugh Freeze knew they needed to win that game because, they lose to Maryland last year. They've already lost to Cal this year. Maryland beat them in the bowl 31-10, smashed them. They lose to Cal. They got a tough schedule. They got these first 5 games at home, and then they're going to have a lot of road games. And I think he knew that they needed to get that win, or it would be a lot of trouble. And you could tell. He was irate on the sideline multiple times. He was really knew how important this game was, and I think that's why he's so frustrated. And we're not going to get off on that tangent too much here, but Freeze is very odd lately. He's basically doing the blame game on everything. Of course, most of y'all know he said he loves Sam Pittman, hope he does a great job, wins a lot of games, but if they played us 9 more times, they'd beat us 9 out of 9, which is just pathetic to say after you just lost. It's very, very childish, Bush League to say something like that. Takes no ownership, and that's kind of what I'm talking about right now. But getting off of Freeze a little bit, they knew that game was a big game, and they had to have it, and I feel like they played as hard as they could play. Their quarterback play is just really bad. Auburn, Marcel Reed is the backup. Wegman has been put on there as questionable this week. Their starter, he might be back, he might not. But Reed can do some, Wegman's okay. He hasn't just jumped off the page at you. Reed can kind of do some things like Green does with his legs a little bit. So he brings a little bit different dimension to the offense a little bit. So he may not even start, even if Wegman's back. Wegman may not start. He may get the start over him. I think they're throwing about 160 yards a game. So they're a little bit like Auburn. Quarterback play is a little bit of an issue with them. They got a really good running game. They got a good offensive line. They have a great defense. Their defense is going to be the best defense we played. I think Tennessee's defense is better that we'll see next week. But I do think A&M has a really good defense, especially their D-line. But I think there are some possibilities in the secondary and the linebacker. Sometimes they get out of their lanes a little bit on the edge and kind of give up the edge some here and there. I do think there's some opportunities for us to do some things. And we've got Bobby Petrino on our side. And I know he's going to scheme it up, and he's going to have some ideas and some things that are going to work. You know, when Petrino was here the first time, one thing I loved about him was the coaches show, because he would sit there on the whiteboard for about 20 minutes each show, and he would break down plays. And if you remember, if you watched that, or if you didn't, I'm fixing to tell you about it. Go back to that Florida game. When we go to Florida, one of the worst stick-it-to-us jobs ever that we've ever had. You know, I mean, I know there was the Phantom clip back in the 60s and all that, but the unnecessary roughness on Malcolm Shepard when he's just protecting himself after an interception and the offensive lineman's trying to take him out was atrocious, cost us the game. And but Petrino talked about he helped Willie Willie Robertson. I'm thinking of Duck Dynasty. Willie Robinson, the defensive coordinator we had at the time. He actually helped him because Petrino's a genius. He sees stuff on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's an offensive guy, but he saw that Tebow, when he didn't roll out, what is he? He's left-handed. When he had to roll out to his right, he really struggled throwing the ball. So what they did was they overloaded the right side and made it where he had to roll out to his right and couldn't roll out to his left where he liked to go. And because of that, Beckett was the far end, the left end, and he ate his lunch all day long. We sacked him, knocked the ball out of his hands multiple times. It was a great, great game plan. And like I said, the terrible officiating cost us that game. We should have won it at the Swamp. But it would have been our first time to ever win at the Swamp then. Anyways, he's in our corner, and I feel good about that. But we got to make some steps. In pass pro, we got to make some steps in knowing what we're doing when we change a play. If you're running back and you're running a route, you got to know. And then your receivers have got to make plays. And Broden's a guy that's got to start high pointing the ball and attacking the ball. All of them have to do a better job attacking the ball. You go back to the 58-yard touchdown to Satania, the amazing play from Green. That's what he did. The ball was underthrown. He didn't just sit there and try to catch it down here. He came back and made the defender get into him. He jumped up and caught it. High pointed it as high as he could with the guy into him. And that's how you make plays. And that was a great job on that play. I'm very excited about this team. I think if we can get this victory, we have a great chance to get game day here for Tennessee at Fayetteville. They're going to be in the top 5. We'll be in the top 25 for sure if we can get this victory. But I really just want to see a little bit of progress every week, because if you do that, by the time you get towards the end, you got a chance to beat an Ole Miss, a Texas at home, even though I think those are less winnable than Tennessee right now. Missouri, though, I think that's a very good chance to win. And you got a chance to get 6-7 wins, okay? But you gotta continue to see a little bit of improvement. And if we do, it's going to be fun to see how it all ends up, and especially where it takes us next year. But, guys, that's all I got for this one. Jaran Miller with the Arkansas Sports Network. Go Hogs. Let's get a big victory against A&M. The last time in Jerry's world, it's time for us to put a stamp on the very end of that series that they have dominated, and they've had no business dominating us in that series since they've been back in the SEC. Thanks, guys. See you next time.